kicking off the video with a picture I made just before I launched. It was 5 a.m. and there was this lovely sunrise. So we'll look at it while I go to what you can expect in this video. I wanted to touch three things. Number one is to go through the flight experience with the highlights while I narrate. And number two, I want to discuss my equipment. So we can avoid a lot of questions just asking, okay, what motor did you use, what props did you use? I'll just try to mention those. And number three, to make it a general maybe guide for people that are going into long-range FPV. And on this point I would note that I'm sure there are some new guys starting watching this video, and of course a lot of experienced folk, some or maybe a lot more experienced than me. And so the experienced ones, I hope, will be patient. I'll try to discuss in detail very simple facts that you would obviously already know, but for the new guys it would be important, so bear with me. Also, it's the first time I'm doing such a video, and I hope it goes well. So let's kick it off with the equipment. Okay, this is a picture of the equipment just pre-launch. This is my Twin Dream, which is one of the most popular platforms right now for FPV. It's very easy to fly, very dependable. I've been flying it for quite a while. It's a twin motor. I have a Sunny Sky 2814 900 kV motors on them, and because I was flying heavy this time, I didn't want a problem with the launch. I have a rather oversized props, which are not the most efficient. This was 10 by 7 inch props. I'm sure if I was at a valley or somewhere I could show from a higher place, I could have gone with 9 by 6, which are more efficient, but this was not the case. And that's basically it. The battery I will touch later. All the other stuff is general. I'm sure everyone uses the servo of their choice for the plane. This is the Yagi antenna. It's 13 dBi. It's for the Dragon Link, which is in the case. This is my medium range tracking antenna. It's a bipod, but at this time I was not using it. I just brought it out to have a tripod for the Yagi. So this is not a good setup. You should never put the video and the long range transmitter in the same place. So this is just a dummy right now. This long one, on the other hand, which is actually 4 meters long, it's the video receiver, and it has I think 15 elements, yeah, 16 dBi supposedly, 1.3, actually 1280 megahertz Yagi, at least centered to that, and it works very well. From judging from the trip, I can say that with enough altitude it should be able to go 150 kilometers. I'm fairly certain. And my case that I built, it's all in one. It contains an LCD, ground station, and some other stuff that are not important for the flight. I also have there's a DVR in the case and another DVR here. I use this just to make sure that I have a backup DVR recording, because once I had lost my DVR, and this flight was important to me. It was a long goal to set this record, and I wanted to make sure I had the video to cover it. It's very funny that Case would have it that I make the worst OSD recording of my life, but in this flight. But I'll go into that in a moment. So that's the equipment. Let's go for the takeoff. Before the takeoff, yeah, I almost forgot. This is the battery pack that I use. You can see it's 2.85 kilograms. It's 4S and 14P battery, lithium ion, total capacity of 49 amps. I also had made actually a 3S just for the video transmitter. That was 3.5 amps. I make these packs, as most of you know, so if anyone is interested and lives in Europe, I can only ship to Europe, then I'm happy to make you one. Just contact me in the details on the email in the description. Also, if you have any question about FPV or PitLab system or whatever, feel free to contact me. I have a lot of guys all over the world that have done so and ask for help in their build or setup, or even something as simple as shopping list. I know from personal experience that when I went into FPV, if I had someone to guide me, I would have spent half the amount of money that I spent. So it's always, I advise this generally, always look for someone experienced to talk to, even if you need to give them a donation or whatever. Still do it, because it's a lot of time, you know, helping folks out, but you save a lot of money on stupid equipment that you don't really need, just because the learning curve is very high. You know, my drawers are full with equipment that you will not be able to sell later, but you buy it because you think you need it, and you read 2 more topics on any forum, and then you realize, okay, that's not what you needed, and you start flying, and then again you find out it's still not what you needed. So save money, talk to some experienced folks. They're very nice, helpful people, and many of the RC forums. I really like the FPV community in general. Of course, you always find 1 or 2 crazy ones, but most of them are really nice and helpful, and I'm happy to be part of it. So feel free to contact me if you need any help with your build. Let's go on to the fly this time for real. Okay, this is me just getting ready to launch. The OSD you can see is called PitLab. It's an OSD and an autopilot system combined. It's a full system. I'll discuss in detail what information we can see. I did this in the last video when I went for the 200 kilometers. I think it might be easier to talk about it instead of writing the description and circling with in the video editing. It's always harder. So let's touch some things. This is the RSSI 99%. This distance from base. Although I think I can launch, and then we'll have a lot of time to talk about all the important things while we're flying. What you might be interested to look at here, the one missing right now, is the current consumption, the amp draw. I think it will go up to 72 amps on launch with full throttle with these oversized props. But that's the reason, because I like to avoid these trees. The problem is, this is a nice place to fly from for the range. There are very few places, the place I stay, and everywhere else there's very long grass, and I'm going to fly south, so I needed to climb fast, and the MTD was weighing 5 kilograms, so it was rather heavy. Airspeed, of course. So let's go for the launch. At this time everything seemed to work perfectly. The only thing I noticed just after the launch is, for some reason I did not have audio. I still don't know why. Audio in my case would be, there's a microphone in the plane which records, which I can hear the props. That's not so important, but more importantly, the variometer of the PitLab system gives voice indications. You know, as you go up it goes with high beeps, just like the gliders, and you go down, it goes with deep sound. So it's good, like you don't pay much attention, you go to the car to pick a drink or something, you can always hear if something bad's happening, like you're falling from the sky, it will start to moan. Okay, so let's kick it off with this flight. So I'm hand launching with 2 hands. I have a program set up on the tire harness that helps spin up the throttle. And it's kicking off now. Here we have 73 amps for launch, and I cut back on the throttle and start to fly out south. As we said, 2 temperatures are, one is the internal and the other is the external temperature. This is showing where this distance is to, and that's the base. And I think this is the first point where I killed my camera. You should know that the pictures will not be really interesting in this video. Something happened to my camera on such an important trip that it completely got washed out with something white. Not this. This is just, I don't know, interference. It completely got washed out. OSD was showing the signal was perfect, but the camera picture was not. And it's already starting. You can see up here it's whiter than it should be. I thought maybe it was because it was a rising sun and it was too early, but it turns out it's not. I just gained some safe altitude just to be sure, 200 meters. Then, because I like the sunrise that I saw, I make one full circle just to have it on camera. However, the PitLab system, if you make a circle, it calculates the wind speed and direction and displays it for you. But to do that, you have to make the circle with the same amount of throttle and, you know, the same amount of servo throws on whichever direction you do. This one I didn't pay attention to that, so the wind direction will not be correct for the rest of the trip. But I didn't care. It's very easy for you to know the wind direction. This is the airspeed and this is the ground speed. So the difference in that, in this case, we have 8 kilometers per hour headwind. Okay, now I make the circle, and I'm sure this is one of the things that messed up the camera. You can see it really washes out. It was very low, very strong sun, and some kind of UV flare. This is the launch site down here. Some kind of UV flare got into the lens, and it starts getting bad and bad and bad, and we'll see how bad it gets. Let me not spoil the show. So you see here it detected the wind speed and direction. It's saying 20 kilometers, but it's not correct actually, because I didn't make a perfect circle. It's a very good feature actually. So we start heading south. I'll stop here for a moment because I have a very short HD recording of the same takeoff. After that, for some reason the SD card on the Mobius camera that I was using failed and it stopped recording, but the beginning is there, and I think it's a lovely sight always to have such videos. And I'm trimming the plane for the weight and the whole environment, so I'll do that often whenever I see how much throttle I can put down. This is showing the throttle percentage, and see if I'm gaining or losing altitude. So just pitch trimming continuously. It's important for the AP, mostly because of the autopilot. If I go to autonomous mode, then it relies on the trimming to gain and lose altitude, and for that sake it's important to trim very well. So let's look at the HD video and we'll come back to this in a moment. Okay, here's the video from the Mobius for the HD. Let's see the launch again in a better resolution. It's best time of summer, everything is green. Here's the takeoff. Slight dip due to the overweight, but then a very solid raise. I think there was a plane flying overhead there for a moment. And I couldn't see this on the ground, but definitely here it's obvious that there's something wrong with the top part of the lens. And the bad news is this whitish stuff keeps going down and comes down until it covers almost everything. I still have no solid idea what it was actually that caused this. Right after the flight I rebooted everything just to test if it was a permanent damage, and it seemed to be permanent. But just the other day I restarted everything to test, and the camera was working perfectly. So I'm guessing that my best guess right now is that something got in the lens from the other day that I went on a really high altitude. Some of you might have seen the video. It's on my channel, quite high, and I did a very long dive from minus 30 degrees, coming into the warm air. And probably not just externally but internally the lens got affected by some kind of dew which was resident, and during this flight it somehow dropped over the lens for some reason, not externally but internally. Probably the sun, the strong UV going directly into it, now that I'll turn around, had some effect on it, but I'm not sure I will ever know really what happened. It's such a pity that it happened on this particular flight. I wouldn't have bothered on my general trips, but this was an important goal and flight for me. Let's go forward a bit. Okay, this is the circle I made just before going on continuing on a trip. You see, I wanted you to see this so you see how strong the sun was. Again, that's the launch site, and but it was just a few seconds that the lens was looking directly in the sun. Such should not affect the Mobius very much. Okay, let's get back to our regular program. Okay, so here we are back with the OSD. Skip forward a little bit. First, we can talk about the items on the display. We mentioned the RSSI, distance to base. Base is where we launch from, and it's in meters. Of course, it's going up. There are 3 modes that were available. 3 primary modes in most autopilot systems. Number 1 is either called off or manual or transparent, where you have all your inputs going directly to the surfaces. Second is stabilize, which keeps the plane level, but it allows your inputs, like the circle I made initially, you know, if you put such input, it goes in that direction, but it always keeps the plane stable and level. Most people in FPV use this. It's quite dependable. And the third one is some sort of autonomous mode, where you don't need to put any input at all, like fly to a waypoint or return to home or follow a route, or things like that. Aerial mapping uses autonomous modes a lot. Then we have temperatures. I believe I mentioned this before. Compass and the course, the time we've been flying. This is the battery voltage. We have the capacity left in the batteries, so this will keep going down. This is the momentary consumption. It's 10A, and it switches to watts. Watts is more reliable in our case, general FPV case, because battery changes. You know, it's high charge and then starts to deplete and goes down. Especially with lithium-ion, it goes down a lot. And at different battery levels, if you know your you know, currents and voltage relation, then you will know that it will always change to give you the same watt. I was busy setting up something with the horizon because of the heavy all-up weight. I was feeling that it was not completely right where the horizon was, so I was experimenting with it during the flight. Nothing you should bother about, just check it. This is the horizon level, and this is how high it, you know, where it should be compared to the semi-level flight. I can tell from the variometer if I'm flying level, and from the visuals of the real horizon, obviously. So this is the watt I was saying. This is the I have a 12-volt UBAC on board, which powers the radio, the video transmitter, and the AP system. And it's displayed in case there's a problem I can see. Here we have our airspeed. It's 41 kilometers per hour. This is the ground speed. Because we're going for a distance, this is more relevant. This will more or less be the same. This means that this is the speed at which I can, you know, maintain the cruise on the plane with this this heavy luggage on board. I need 40 kilometers per hour to maintain level flight, and this is quite useful. especially for display purposes. It shows you the percentage of throttle input. We have artificial horizon, pitch degrees, up, down. H displays the direction and position of the home base, so it's right behind us. We're flying away from home. And this is the wind speed and direction, which I mentioned is not correct, so just don't pay attention to it. And this is the waypoint I set up far away, just in case I got tired or my fingers got weak or whatever, and I didn't want to do a manual flight. I just say fly to waypoint, and then it keeps going to the same southern waypoint. I put it maybe 150 kilometers away. I didn't have to use it to the flight, there's no problems. Here we have the altitude in meters. I don't need this much altitude at this distance, not even close, but I came up, just to be at the safe altitude in case of anything. Actually, I will go lower, I think, and maintain 200 meters to more or less 30 kilometers. The video is really good, and the system is working perfectly. Still trimming, getting the hang of it. And variometer shows meters per second ascent or descent, so going up and down. And this one feature I find very, very useful, and it's quite unique to the PitLab. It shows you the angle, the slope angle you are to your base. So this means that if I turned around and flew with a slope angle of 2.1 degrees down, then I will hit home exactly at 1 meter altitude. So it's good just for you to know, and this one shows actually how much you're gaining or losing in altitude. And there's a good return to home system that PitLab has that works with this, which is the most efficient system you can have. That means it constantly keeps coming back and losing altitude at the rate that it requires to hit home exactly at the level point. And I had this plan to use this system for a long range trip. It's the best because we're going to be very high. So the best way to come home is to use the minimum throttle required to maintain this slope, so that we hit home just as the altitude that it's set. I think right now it's 80 or 100 meters, the altitude, the return to home altitude at base. But before I set this, I like to have a good distance, or altitude rather. So in the meantime, the return to home is set to go up to 400 meters, just to avoid anything that might be on the way, although everything here is flat. And when it gets home and gets into 900 meters range, then it will come down to 100 meters, and then it gets over my head and then loiters. So we're gaining distance, we're using minimum input, as little current as we can. All you need to do is cruise speed when you're going for range. That is the least possible speed that you're maintaining straight flight, level flight, I mean. And because we have some headwind, averaging 10 kilometers per hour, I need more current than I generally would if I was on a calm day. And by the way, the weather for today, and this is why you might be wondering why the hell I launched at 5 a.m. It seems bright, but it's really early, and I actually had 2 hours of sleep just prior because I was setting up all night and making sure everything worked, which it didn't. The weather forecast was that I will have almost calm weather, a little headwind, but almost calm weather. And just around the time I was planning to hit the distance, 120 kilometers with my target, 120, 125, the wind would get stronger and would help me get back, to take advantage of it. But generally it was showing 0 and 7 kilometers per hour wind, at least on the close to ground. In the air I wasn't sure, but I always find that when I go up, if it's strong in that direction, then I'll come back. It will help me get there faster. If it's strong in this direction, then to help me get back faster. If it's too strong, then it's a failed mission. there's nothing to do about it. This is my second attempt at this distance. The last time I did it, the wind was very strong. Even at this altitude, it was so strong I was burning 400-500 milliamps per kilometer, so there's no way I would have even gotten close to what I was planning. And talking about consumption milliamps per kilometer, this is one of the most useful features down here of the OSD for range pilots. In this case, I'm testing out a beta feature which is not out yet with the Pit Lab. Here it shows the current consumption of that's why this is changing all the time. At the throttle I'm using now, and the speed of ground, it calculates how much milliamp it uses up per kilometer. And this second one, so what's the interesting one, this is an average. Up till now Pit Lab has been using average from the entire flight, but I found that was not so useful because the circumstances change. So I talked to them and we are testing now in this flight. This is using the 5-minute average. So the last 5 minutes of the flight are averaged, and that will give me a more realistic sense of what my current consumption is. And with this, it does this calculation. Sorry for the preview. Right? This is calculated based on how much amps I have left, what my average consumption is, and based on that, this is the distance I can fly. So simple math. And this one, the 9.4, is showing the distance I've flown so far. So that's here, almost the same thing. But of course, when I turn back, this will start to go down, but that will keep going up. So a little more trimming, I think. Yes. No. Okay. Here's the throttle mode. No, I didn't do anything. I'm second guessing myself. So let's skip forward. I think we talked about this already. As you can see, this whitish thing keeps coming down lower, and you have to know that at this point I thought, okay, this maybe the sunrise is too early, it's not bright enough, and it will get better, or something temporary is happening, because there is video signal is 100%. I'm at 10 kilometers now, 200 meters altitude, and I was really counting on it to get better, but definitely not worse. Well, I was in for a surprise. I'm mentioning this because some people, quite a few people asked why I continued the trip after I realized that my camera had failed. Well, let's go and we'll find out. I'm going to skip a little bit forward, and maybe even more forward. And as you see, it keeps coming down, the top part getting washed out more and more and more. This is 12 kilometers and 200 meters. I mentioned I maintained this 200 meters for a long time. The video system is really good. I'm really impressed. It can go very far, even though it's linear, as you can see, as you saw with the Yagi. I hardly need 100 meters per 10 kilometers altitude. Almost got to 30. I started going up. It's from about 40-50 kilometers that I really need to start gaining altitude, and just keep that general rule of 100 meters altitude per 10 kilometers. Okay, skip some more. There's a point where I make a circle again, and that's when the wind indication changes, which is wrong to begin with, as I mentioned. But I think that's when I really messed up the camera, when it looked into the sun again. So still getting worse. 15 kilometers, 200 meters. The wind is light, light headwind. I'm not worried about it, because this wind, even though it's showing that I won't make 240 kilometers minus what I've done, I'm not worried, because on the way back, I'm going up now, I'm using more current, and on the way back the wind will help me come back. It will help my efficiency, and I'm going to be coming down still. Let's skip a little bit more, see the next video. Okay, that was a break, and we're back. I'm trying to keep the time in my head as I keep pausing and fast forwarding. The whole recording is not happening at the same time. Right here, what I'm going to do now is I went out on the field about 15 kilometers from the launch site, and I made a runway. This is a feature of PitLab, automatic landing. I checked for a place that's clear, that's definite that I can land, and right now I'm selecting it as the runway on the way back. This is a safety feature for me, and it is in case I am on the way back and I see that I will not make it and I'm not going to get home, then I'll just select the runway for automatic landing and engage autopilot, and it's going to land on that side. So this is what I'm setting up right now. As you can see, glide slope and the course, you know, always try to go for the wind direction. It's a minimal now, so I just put it north, course 0, and that's the runway. While we're getting on, let me talk about the whole long range thing that I'm doing here. Once before this, about 2 months ago or 1.5 months ago, I successfully did a 101 kilometer run and back, and everything was working well on the video too, so I was fairly sure that with the right battery pack I could do more, and I wanted to do it. I wanted 140 kilometers, then I realized, you know, it's really big battery. I can hardly put it in the plane, so more realistic was maybe 120, and basically that was where my goal was, 115, 120, but definitely over 100. There's this top list that's on FPV Lab, where some of us register our accomplishments, and somebody, a guy called Sunnybug, I think, topped the then 113 kilometer first place to 120. So I already decided when I launched this that okay, I'll try to do 120, 25, just, you know, for the hell of it, to be above that. But trust me when I say this, in a few weeks someone else will do more than I did in this video. As technology is evolving and better video transmitters, receivers, better pilots, and better batteries, especially with this a very good lithium-ion technology that has less weight, more capacity, which is very good for FPV, and people will keep topping the list. The only key thing is for video transmission and any kind of transmission, as the Earth is, you know, round, as you're going out, for you to remain within that signal, you have to keep going up, so you have to gain altitude. And this is what I was mentioning, that for me with this system, and there's a limit to that, there's a formula actually, I don't know it, more or less I need this 100 meters per 10 kilometers altitude. No matter what antenna technology you're using, you will need that beam. For the Dragon Link, which I'm using for the transmission, for the control, the best system in the world by far right now. You will see, if you check all the long range guys do it, the first 10 people on the top list use Dragon Link, as far as I know. Right now it's on Yagi, and the new micro receiver that was released last year, October, is actually bidirectional, this telemetry. So I'm getting telemetry, and with this Yagi I was surprised the telemetry worked actually up to 80 kilometers distance. With the simple whip antenna that everyone uses, it just works for 10 kilometers, but most people fly only 10. So it's a good feature to have, mostly for, I would say, plane recovery. Why I say that is because my video system, the FPV, the PitLab system, has a program on Android. It's called FPV Tracker, and it does basically the same on Google Maps. It shows me exactly where I am, and it's practically limitless. That is, it works as long as you have video, because the telemetry is coded into the video, Meanwhile, Dragon Link is a receiver, so the transmission range is never going to be that strong. But from what I understood, the Dragon Link is working on a 1-watt transmitter, which will double or triple the range we're getting from this. But it's a good backup. So on my smartphone, I was watching the Dragon Link telemetry, and on a tablet, I was watching the telemetry, the mapping of the flight. I'll show you that in a moment. In the meantime, you see, again, it keeps getting worse and worse. I was still thinking it's, you know, just temporary, and later when I go high and the sun is up and not shining from right behind, it's going to get better. Why I say this is I got a few people asking me, okay, why did I continue? Well, we'll get there. Why did I continue? When I realized that, okay, the camera is good, practically I can just see white and nothing on the ground. I had a plan. I have 2 kids and work and other things, so I had a plan that after this trip, especially if I succeed, I was going to stop mainstream flying and just deal with support, which I do now, that is helping people with setup and building the battery packs and, you know, be with my kids. It's a long time going, setting up an FPV, flying, coming back. So it was important the important goal for me to accomplish on this flight. Call it last flight, like the last dinner, and everything else was working. The chances of you colliding in the air it's practically impossible. Believe me, if you know anything about statistics, especially in the country where I am, you know, much less air traffic than the US. This is not the US, this is in Europe, and the altitude I'm flying, it's, you know, for you to be in the same cubic meter of air as another craft is next to impossible, really. So many other things are much more probable. So in this case, the safety was not really an issue. What was an issue, that is collision, is not an issue. And even if such a foam plane collides, then you're only going to lose your plane, not the other side. The problem was, if I saw that I was not going to make it, I ran out of juice or something, then without the video, I would not see where I was landing. And this is one decision that I had to make. And if I was not the person flying, someone else was flying, I would have said, turn around, it's not safe, you cannot land. I mean, like right now I can see, okay, this place is safe to land. You can see more or less it's just agriculture, farmland. So if I switch off throttle and go down, maybe I'll lose signal around 100 meters, but I know, okay, I can land here. However, when I lose picture completely, I won't see where I am. But because I have and I'll show you this now in a moment. So here, because I had the tablet with Google Maps, and I already downloaded the map of the area I was going to fly, don't bother zooming in. I intentionally blurred all the city names or village names, so I could use Google Maps and zoom in much tighter in case I had an emergency landing, and more or less put it down on not in a village. However, what I wouldn't see on Google Maps is probably electric wires, and maybe if a place is cultivated or not, or things like that. But again, that's something that would only influence me and me losing my plane. It's not a danger really to others, so I was not going to land in a village by mistake just for not seeing it. Anyway, still, it's it's a risk one should not take. But you know, how many times does it happen that you're flying and your camera has, you know, a fault, and you're getting OSD, and actually you see visuals but not the background. It's really not something that happens often. Anyway, I decided to continue, and let's get on with the video. So at this point, I still wasn't sure what was happening. Again, I repeat that I thought this was going to sort itself out. It's about 60 kilometers out that I knew that it wasn't coming back. At this point, I might have turned back here. I was just thinking, okay, there's some sensitive something on the sensors, the UV was in the wrong angle, and it will get better soon, because why else would I be seeing pictures? Okay, let's skip forward a little bit more. Okay, we're getting closer to 100 to 30 kilometers and still same altitude. Because after this bit I still didn't need much altitude gain, but I still decided to start going up because I was hoping maybe the altitude would clear things up. Still trimming a little bit as the wind. Okay, here you can see we're almost at zero wind speed, so everything was going according to plan. I can check. It's saying that I can do with current consumption of zero wind 215 kilometers range after I've done 30. So I was already pretty sure I'll make it to 100 kilometers out and back and still have a little left. Consumption was going down. This is very important for me. I keep using it to gauge, and that's very important. If you're going long range, it's extremely important that you gauge your abilities very well. Always recalculate to the capacity you have, based on the wind speed, based on the altitude, and always check and calculate how far you can still go and how far you will make it back. It's the most important thing. The AP will give you estimates, but it will not consider wind speed. It will not consider your altitude. You have to do that yourself. If you're high, you know you will be more efficient coming down than you're going up. Generally, I would actually say, and I think most long rangers would agree with me on this, always go for headwind when you're going out. So worst case scenario, when you're 50% or a little less capacity left on your way back, you will always be much more efficient or more efficient, so you always know you're getting back. If you go with a tailwind, you'll look splendid, you'll go very far, but when you turn around, the picture will start changing, and it's a bigger risk. So safest long range is go with headwind, 50% comeback. That means you're coming back 100%, because you're coming down, you're coming with tailwind. It's going to help you with speed. In this case, I really went to the edge, and even with all the mathematics and all the considerations, I was lucky that I got home. You'll see why. I had to make changes, and even then I was really worried on the way back that I didn't have camera, because it was something I didn't think would happen. The way the wind actually changed quite differently from what the forecast was, and I was wrong on how high the current wind. Actually, the forecast was good, but the level at which it was good for, most forecasts are for people living on the ground, not in the air. The wind at the level at over 1 kilometer was really high tailwind, which helped me get out, but it was a problem getting back, a bigger problem than I anticipated. I knew it was going to be there, but I didn't know it was going to be. As a matter of fact, I think it was 50 kilometers per hour wind. So even though I was coming back diving, that is gliding down, I was burning more fuel than now that I'm burning now going up, and that was a serious problem. We'll get to that soon. Anyhow, 30 kilometers and still 30 kilometers. I think I made a circle here. Let's look at this again. Yeah, I made a circle here, and I think it just got worse. The sun again blinded it completely, and the picture really got much worse and kept deteriorating. As you see, just white. You can tell that and probably believe me, that I was getting 100% CRC on the video signal. It was very good video signal, and even though I'm at a very low altitude, but there's very little picture. Let's keep going. Next video. Just try to skip ahead so you don't get too bored 640 kilometers, 500 meters altitude. So apart from the picture, the video image, everything else was going according to plan at this stage. Actually, here I started getting a slight tailwind. You can see that my ground speed is a little higher than my air speed, and still the estimate was going up as anticipated, and I was climbing a little bit, just enough, always enough to have a good signal, but I was really keeping it at the margin. That is, if I was a little bit, because I wanted to be efficient, if I was a little bit higher, the picture would be even more clearer than this. Let's go again, jump 50 kilometers, 640 meters high. Okay, you see the tailwind is picking up. It's now I think about 6-7 kilometers per hour. Skip ahead again. Skip even more, 70 kilometers. Okay, I changed my return to home mode right now. Formerly it was just go on 400 meters altitude, as I explained, till it gets close to the base, then it will come down to 100. And this is where I realized that I was not going to get any picture anymore. It was this is where I had to make the decision. Okay, I have a lot of fuel, I can come back and no risk, and consider it a failed mission and try some other day, which was really hard, or go on. And this tailwind was really tempting, you know. It was 20 kilometers per hour tailwind. I was getting very good efficiency. Even though I was climbing, I was getting a lot of efficiency. Based on the efficiency, I was going to still be able to fly 200 kilometers even though I have done 70. So I was saying to myself, okay, what the hell, I'm not going to hit anything in the air. It's not really extremely unlikely to happen, believe me. It's not like on the road. This is a three-dimensional space in this small country, and I'm at a very low altitude, so nothing commercial. Even the later altitudes I go to, so it's not going to happen me hitting something. And actually, even if you could see the skies, planes fly so fast, avoiding them with FPV camera is not what is going to save you. You know, generally, if something comes from the side, you're not going round and around when you're flying for a long range, because you would waste efficiency, fuel on just the circling. So, as I said, I decided I was going to go through with it, get to the distance. A very nice tailwind as I was going up. I was considering that it's going to be a problem coming, you know, on the way back, but the predictions were saying it will turn around, I think around 8 o'clock. Now it's 7 a.m. Around 8 to 9 a.m. the wind is supposed to turn around and help me get back. So that was one thing I was counting on. And two is, on the way back I only have to come down, so I need minimal throttle. Right now I'm at 43% throttle. I will need, and about 140 watts to fly. I'll need very little throttle to just keep that slight 1% slope to get home to base at 100 meters. So skip a little bit again. I'm really, you know, using just minimal altitude. If I was at 150 meters, this is where you see when your video is getting bad, this is what it looks like, as you can tell from the image. But it's happening because I'm really just going up very slightly. Only when it's very necessary I put up a little bit more altitude. So 80 kilometers with 1000 meters or thereabout. The antennas, by the way, on the platform are also made by DragonLink. They're dipole linear polarized antennas for this 1.3 gigahertz system, and most long rangers I know use it. Linear polarized is very good for long range with the directional antennas. Yagi, of course. And let's get on more. Okay, again, I just need altitude. If I go up, this is signal, you know, getting low. But as I go higher, I start to climb, it will start to clear. Jump ahead and show. Actually, I'm not climbing, so it's worse, but you will notice very well as I go up how it clears out. You see, I climbed 100 meters and it's getting clearer. Let's keep going. So I hit 100 kilometers, sorry. You can see 102 kilometers at 1.5. I still had more than half of my capacity on. I had serious tailwind, and this was so tempting. You know, wow, I'm flying at 70. You'll see me go up to 90 kilometers per hour. So it was really going well, but it's very dangerous to go with this, and this is where I think maybe I should have turned around 1 or 2 kilometers before I did. But it was so sweet. You know, you're going for long range and you're going really efficiently up. Let's continue because the wind is really strong. Okay, as you see, the image is bad, and I start to climb again to regain quality. Climbing, and it will get better as I go up. As we get further, 100 and I don't know if you can see this, 111 kilometers, and we're at 1.8 kilometers high. And as I climb more, 2 kilometers, it's getting clearer again. Let's go further forward. Okay, here the altitude was too little for the distance, so I push on the throttle and elevator up again to clear it up. You see, I go up to I think 2.2, then it will clear up. And based on this, if I had more battery and everything else was okay, from my experience, I would say with this video system that I have, I could do 150 kilometers, but probably will need to climb to 3 kilometers high. And you know, climbing is an efficiency killer. I would really need a lot more battery to do it, but with the appropriate platform, maybe even this one could do it. From the way this MTD launched, I'm sure it can carry an extra kilogram more of batteries for the flight. Folks that are not very familiar with FPV and autopilot systems, you should know that why one can risk things like what I'm doing now, losing signal and losing the telemetry slightly and just edging it up a little bit, is because there's a so-called return to launch mode, which I can either switch manually on the remote and the plane will turn around and come back to me, coming down slowly, or if I lose signal completely, it will sense it. It's called a failsafe, and it will do the same. So here again, the altitude is too low, so I go up again, so you understand why I'm doing this, why I'm not just going up as high as I can, is to save battery as much as possible. So I only go as high as the bare minimum that I need. I could go much higher, and this would be much clearer, but I tried to climb only slightly. We're 2 kilometers high and 118. So yeah, I was sure I was going to do 120. It wasn't even a question. Let's go there. See, I climbed to 180. I climbed 180 meters more, and you can see the signal is clear again. It's so unfortunate that you can't see the background, because you know that the picture's I'm not saying perfect, but it's very clear. And this is where you know, I think I overtook Sunny Bug, and okay, I could turn around at this range or go a little more? Well, I had, I think, exactly half my capacity. I only needed to glide, and the wind was supposed to turn around, so I said, what the hell, let's push it a little bit more. Let's just do 130. I'm going really fast. I'll get there really fast. You see, 90 kilometers per hour, so I'm really getting there fast, and that's the reason why I went to 130. I'll just jump little ones here. 126.4. I tried to save altitude again, so at the 130 you'll see the video go bad, but because I didn't bother to gain more altitude just to get there, I'll see when I'm also this video is much clearer on my on the screen I'm looking at. This is recorded with a cheap DVR, and then I'm encoding it with another program right now, so it's much worse than what I'm actually seeing on the ground right there. So almost 130. I try not to gain any more altitude, just get there as long as I can see the range on the video. As you can see, it's going really fast on ground speed. And we'll get to 130 here, 130.6, and no more altitude gains. 132 I think is where I decided to turn around, and to turn around safely, because the plane banks one side, and then almost always at this kind of distance you have some interference, because the little dipole antenna will not be straight upwards but sideways. The video gets back, so I like to use return to launch to turn around to make sure it's coming back to me, and then engage manual or stabilize in this case after that. So 131.4 and oh, I skipped too much. Okay, let me go back to, it's 139.9, and it's at 132 that I turn around. I engage return to mode, yeah, just here, and you can see, maybe you can see it, the horizon switches. I'll show you this same video from a recording I made on my phone at the station. And this is the reason you see this bad quality, is because the plane turned around. Now it's coming back to me. Okay, hold on a minute and I'll open up another video of this. Okay, this is what I was seeing on the ground. This is my ground station. You can see the same 132. You'll see engage, return to launch, and here you see back. Okay, so we're back to the return. Most notable difference is the H is right in front of us. That's the home direction. And as I get closer, obviously, the video will get clearer. However, and I start noticing this, because of the wind speed, even though I'm pushing throttle and I'm coming down slightly, I was doing very low ground speed, half of what I was doing, so I'm still very far away. And then this point I start to realize something of a problem, and that was the wind speed and how much it was taking out of the capacity on the return. I made my calculations according to the flight, the flight at this stage, and I'm skipping forward so that I'll see where I noticed those things. So I was looking at the data of the return, and what I was seeing there, that the consumption was way too high, even though I'm coming down slowly, slightly, because of the wind. It was too high, and I would not have made it home with the capacity I had, and the gliding that I'm doing right now, that is just slight throttle and coming down slowly. So I had to make a choice I think this is more or less it. Hold on, let me get this figure back. Okay, so again, the readings I was getting, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm getting about 350, 400 milliamp hours per kilometer, which was giving me, you know, very short range. I think I can see it here saying that, okay, I can fly 72 kilometers, and I needed to fly 130 kilometers to get back. So it was really not good, even though I was gradually losing altitude, very gradually, and coming back, the wind was really strong. So as soon as I had a little bit better signal, I decided I had to sacrifice my OSD for a moment, and what I needed to do was change the return to home mode to not to down to minimum. The down to minimum is the current mode, whereas it starts to come gradually at the same angle until it gets to me. I explained this before. And the mode I changed it to was to come down to 1000 meters and then fly straight from there at the same 1000 meters level. I'll make a picture and explain what happens here, and then you understand better. Hold on. Okay, so here's a picture of the situation I was at. This blue is the plane, or us, in the sky, and this is the video antenna, and as I explained, it has a beam, and as the Earth goes around, you have to be at a certain altitude to be within video transmission, so that I can see what's going on down here. And if I go down, I just made an example of 2 kilometers. If I go down to 1 kilometer altitude, then I will lose signal until I get closer to home. However, if I stayed at this height and came back slowly, the wind was really strong at this altitude, and it was really burning my fuel, and I would not have made it out of needed to land somewhere here and lose everything. So what my decision was and what I decided to do, also you should know that I beta test for PitLab for more than 6 months now, very actively, and I know all the ins and outs of the system and how reliable it is, and I know it is very reliable. I've flown it with many planes, and I know I can count on the system getting it back as long as, you know, there's no fault, electrical fault, which, you know, you have no choice of. So what I decided to do was change the return to home mode, not to fly slowly down, but to come down to 1000 meters and go at that level. This would mean that I was going to lose signal video completely until I get about 100 kilometers to myself. But on the other hand, on the plus side, I get to enjoy the wind, which I had the prediction for at lower altitude, which was going to help me get home. So I did this. I planned it. It was intentional. You'll see me set it up. I changed the return to launch mode to 1000 meters, and then follow it, and practically tell myself I was going to have a complete blackout for 30 kilometers, which is not easy, believe me. Looking at a monitor, I'll show you the kind, and hoping that you see yourself again. As a matter of fact, it's very funny. I was not worried about seeing my plane getting to the range and seeing the video. What was the most nerve-wracking was to see what the fuel ratings will be, because I have no idea how it's going, and maybe there's even bigger winds here. And when it comes out, and if it comes out and says range 50 kilometers, then you know, I'm screwed. So it was really high tension waiting for the recovery. But let's look at it together. Okay, so here we are again. I'll shortly switch or rather change the autopilot return to launch system. I think I already did it, sorry. Where was Hold on, we'll find it. I'll wait for a place that last thing I want to do now is to gain altitude. If I did gain altitude, I would recover video, no problem, but I didn't want to do that because then I'll even have less battery. So I waited for the video to clear a little bit as I got closer, and then somewhere here, yeah, right here, I go into the OSD. Again, what I'm seeing is much clearer than what you're seeing. I go into the autopilot and change the down to minimum I change the altitude to 1000 meters, and then change the flight mode from down to minimum to down if distance, it's called. You see this one, down if distance. I think I select 900 meters. So up till 900 meters range for me, it will go down, and you can see it starts to dip really hard. This will reduce consumption and starts going down, but because of this, you see the pitch is 15 degrees. Because of this, I'll lose OSD and lose video and telemetry completely. Even Dragon Link, because although there was no fail-safe, so Dragon Link had a connection, because I remember the whole trip the minimum RSSI was 22%. So Dragon Link did not lose connection, but I was out of range of telemetry for Dragon Link. And as I'm going down now, I'm going to cut off video completely and sit there and chew my nails and hope for the best, and wonder, okay, this is 122 kilometers, so about 22 kilometers will be the place. You see, as I'm not using throttle, just going down, you can see consumption is 0 milliamps, and because of this my range is going up, but video will fail, most definitely. It starts to clear a little bit as I get closer, but soon the altitude will be too low to have any video connection, and this is what was important for me, to calm down, reduce consumption. However, I still had the risk of not knowing how much wind was blowing at 1000 meters, and I start to lose video here because I'm going lower than the altitude that is needed to have the video link. It goes from bad to worse. Let's just skip, and then here I lose it completely. So this is the screen I was looking at for quite some time. This is complete lost video signal, and I'm just staring at the screen and waiting and waiting. I'm sure you can imagine how hard it was and how tense. This was the most exciting part of the I was still seeing a slight reading on the OSD, and I know I'll get it back as it gets closer, but what I didn't see was the readings on the consumption milliamps, and that was what I was really interested in. So until I got the video back and I could see what was going on, I was really, worried. And here is 999 kilometers range, but that is because I'm consuming 0 milliamps for the last 5 minutes. What will be interesting is when it goes back to, not diving, but the 1000 meters altitude, and starts flying with the throttle on at the altitude, then what range it would give. So let me not bore you more with this. Let's skip ahead and see where we regain video. As a matter of fact, come to think of it, I think I remember lowering the altitude even from 1000 meters to lower, because the wind was still headwind for me at 1000 meters. I don't remember exactly, but we'll find out together when I cover video what altitude I will be at and how much battery I have left, how much battery capacity. So more exciting screenlessness. Waiting and waiting. waiting. Okay, finally I start getting back video. Okay, now it's the 1000 meters and it's flying straight now, and I'm just excited to see what the information I get here. And yeah, now I can see according to the average of the last 5 minutes flying straight, I have 68 kilometers range, and I need to fly 94 kilometers. So as you know, the two are not the same, so the computer is telling me that I can only fly 67 kilometers, and I needed to fly 94. Why? I knew it wasn't a problem yet, and I was going to sort it out. Is because I was at 1 kilometer high, so 1000 meters, and coming down is always going to be less of a problem. But I wanted to make sure I get into safe signal before I continue with my experiments. I guess I keep lowering the altitude less and less all the time to see where I'll finally have tailwind, because I knew there was tailwind. I could feel it. At the station there was tailwind. The weather report was the wind was coming from the south, so it was supposed to help me. But here still my airspeed is more than my ground speed, so it's still you know, it's showing me calm weather at this altitude. I needed tailwind, and I needed it fast. It was coming down, a slight tailwind, yeah, at about 955 meters. It's 2 kilometers per hour tailwind. So the more tailwind I get, the more these two numbers, the 69 and the 86, start to match, and that was important, that the two become the same. So I keep with the stabilizer, I keep going lower and lower, and I switched off the auto mode, and sometimes I turn it on when I this is not return to launch, but actually it's on heading hold, so I always put a lower altitude. No, actually it's return to launch, but whatever altitude I go down to, it follows that. So what I did is put down altitude until I see video is going to be lost, then I leave it at that altitude and let it come towards me again, you know, just always coming down just enough to have video signal. And as I'm coming home, I was seeing the hope, I should say. Here you can make it out, it's 46 kilometers per hour, still with the same 40 for airspeed. So there was wind. Let's jump a bigger one. Now 48, and you can see it's catching up now. It's saying I can cover 100 kilometers, and I needed to cover 80. Of course I knew this was a little off because I did a little dive. Let's go even more forward into the trip. 74 kilometers, and yeah, the wind was picking up, 8 kilometers per hour wind. And finally the two caught up, 74 kilometers range and 76 kilometers of range according to the remaining amps and the battery. For those of you who don't know, the lithium-ion packs can handle some of the capacities. Actually there it can handle, it goes lower than basic lipos. So these particular ones can go down to 2.5 volts per cell, and anything below that will destroy them. Lipos is I think 3.2, the worst is 3 volts, and you can stop. So of course don't put the lithium ion to 2.5, but you know, if you land with 2.8 under load, then you're basically safe. And that's why you'll see this go below 12 volts. It's not a problem. I mean, it's not a problem because it's normal for it. This capacity is there, and after landing and getting home and recharging the battery, it was quite close to what I actually had. So again, the matching distance and matching range based on current consumption was going okay, but it was so, you know, it wasn't funny because it was just a few kilometers from each other, and because I didn't have video, I could not say, oh, okay, I'm 500 meters from myself, I can land, no problem. That was what's worrying me a lot, that the two numbers are rather close, and what if I just run out at the last 900 meters, I still can't see the plane with line of sight. So all the way back was very tense. I think it had a big deal in the decision of why I decided to stop it at this range. Just a few weeks back, I flew an altitude record also. It's on the channel. That was quite high, and again, I think that was the reason that the camera got damaged in this interesting way. That, as I said a few days ago, I just turned it on to check and it was working again as if nothing happened. So terrible that for such an important flight it produces such a fault that no one has ever seen before, and no one has an idea what happened. It's obviously not due, and it's not fog, and it's not a burnt out CMOS layer, because then it wouldn't work, although then I thought it was that. Anyway, we're at 600 meters and 67 kilometers, and the range is saying I can still go 75 at this range. So I have good video, and I push it down again. I keep pushing it to go as low as possible, because I know that the lower altitude has the better wind, and you will see this confirmed now. You can see it's 15 kilometers per hour wind, and now it's 17, so it keeps going up as I go down. But I don't want to go so low that I lose video again, because then I won't be able to improvise in case of anything. So I just keep going down as much as I can. 17 kilometers per hour tailwind. Again, don't pay attention to this, it was just from the unnecessary turn that I made. Let's skip forward a little bit more. 60 kilometers and 69 kilometers, so it's looking good here. As a matter of fact, I made this battery for someone that ordered it, and it's a big pack, an expensive pack, and I didn't want to destroy it by over draining. If I had no choice, I would have, but then make another one for the person, but it would have been a serious loss. So even in that, I was lucky that I did not have to over drain the pack. I think I came down to 2.8 volts under load per cell just before landing. Okay, but I'm spoiling all the excitement probably. Yeah, quite clear video now. Wind is quite strong, almost 20 kilometers per hour, so it's helping me with the range. I'm getting closer to myself. Let's jump forward. I have 9 amps left in the back. 40 kilometers. Video is completely clear at this stage. I didn't want to come much lower, if there's anything in the way. Although I knew there wasn't, but still, really, if it's not necessary, then I wouldn't want to come below 200, 250 at such a distance. And again, more realistically, 37 kilometers from the pack and 38 for the real life distance. It was still a close call all the way, as you can see. Now I'm using autopilot because in a way it has better throttle management that a human can. It just maintains level flight and at a certain altitude and uses the throttle dynamically. So towards the ending stage, I used it a few times, and it just uses the least needed throttle to maintain the altitude that I set, and that was critical at this point. And interesting enough, a little bit of the ground can be seen now. I don't know if you can see it. It starts coming back just very, very washed out all the way up to the point that I lined, but you can see the ground here. And then at this stage I couldn't make out how high this was, and I was really worried that, okay, this looks like 100 meters and I'm supposed to be 300 meters above, and it doesn't look that, and I'm going to fly over a little town just before landing, and what if the barometer was off from the change in temperature from the time I took off, and the weather and pressure and everything, it influences it, and it's shown off and I cannot see how low so I was really, I could have come down to 100 meters, but and been even safer with the consumption, but I was really worried coming down that low, because it seemed visually that I was lower than this, but I wasn't. The instruments were not lying. You see, it looks less than 300 meters, but it isn't. Anyway, keep going, 25 meters, and I could see I was going to make it, but I was worried about the battery, if I was going to be able to just not destroy the battery at the last moment. The picture was showing slightly. I changed the settings for the autopilot to be even more efficient. That is, I think I reduced the altitude it should come down to at base from 100 to 80 meters, as if that 20 meters difference would matter in the consumption. My greatest worry here was flying over the city around 10 kilometers and being high enough, because this really seemed low, and I was worried that if the barometer was off and the altitude was not there, then I might just fly into a house or something, or the side of the mountain. Yeah, I changed it to 70 meters. Now I get worried, I think, and I put it back to 90, because I was worried that that might be too low, but there was no problem. At landing you'll see that the barometer was spot on to the ground level, and my ground level was actually higher than what we're seeing here, because I was on top of a little elevation. It's quite a big elevation, but it's quite a few meters above what I'm flying over. I like that spot a lot. I also limit the throttle, the dynamic throttle on the autopilot, so it cannot push more throttle than 70%, even if it wants to. This is to save the battery. I had the big props, because if you set to 100, when it needs to gain altitude, it will just push 100. This way it's limited to 70, so it cannot take more than 70. But there's wind. There is wind, but because of the weight, it is taking quite a few amps. There you can see it's using 170 watts to fly, to maintain altitude. And I am at 5 kilometers. I engage autopilot, auto landing, sorry. Just in case I don't see the plane in time, I don't start circling around. I made a runway just at the base where I was, and the PitLab system can land the plane at the runway. This is an ILS. You can do it manually, actually, that you can land the plane in fog or at night. I did a few night flights with this, and here I can really feel the ground being close, and but not sure how close. Didn't look like on 200 meters. So I just wanted to keep the landing engaged to be sure, but at the last moment I saw the plane and knew where it was, and then I disabled the auto landing and just landed myself manually. See the battery. First, I think I set the alarm to 11 volts. I didn't want to go below that, but I had to. Okay, here I think I disabled the landing. and because of that the plane turned around, because of, yeah, this is a thing called mountain mode, whereas if the plane is at a lower altitude than what you set, and I think it was 200 or 300 meters, because I switched to auto mode, it will not start going up directly. It will first start circling to climb and then start to fly to home, just in case there's a mountain between you and the home. And because of that, it started flying away, and I only just noticed it. Anyway, and we go on, and at this point I know I'm past the town, so that's no longer a problem. That was around 10 kilometers. Now I'm just worried about hitting the side of the plateau where I was flying from, because I couldn't see anything, and I re-engaged the automatic landing, ILS. I could follow, so it draws the runway, it draws a point projected from the runway that you can hit, and some of you might know how this system works. And the alarm kicks in at under 11 volts, warning me. So I switched to stabilize and then use the minimal throttle that I can. And I'm watching for the plane from the ground, and I think from here I can see it. This is the place I launched for, so I just come in and land and not use this, just turn around, come down and land it in the grass as soon as I can, not to waste any more battery, because if it dips too much then there's a problem. So oops, that's it, it's dropped in the grass. It took me quite a while to find it. It was a big farmland, but it was close, but the plantation was high. So here we have the summary of the flight. This was the range we flew, and the max distance, the max speed, that was actual on the way out. And luckily this was most important for me. As far as the battery is concerned, I did not go below 10.8. At 10 it's dead, and this way I went home, I retested it just to make sure, so I don't send someone a pack that has a problem. And you can see minimum RSSI was 23%, so we never lost the link with the Dragon Link, even though we went down to 1,000 meters as such a distance. And this was the whole flight. It's a little off actually, it should be double this obviously for math, but for some reason this one is correct, and I didn't fly shorter distance back than I did going out. And the flight time 300 minutes. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and again, if you have any questions, please feel free to write or contact me. I'm quite active on rcgroups.com, and sometimes I post on FPV Lab also. Both places are a nice crowd. I would say RC Groups it's more populated. FPV Labs is okay too. Both have a lot of information. So have a nice day, and please share the video with your friends, and have fun flying. Stay safe. Bye.